Let's talk about Joel Embiid. He was suspended for 3 games for shoving a media member. I'm reading an article here from Tim Bontemps, ESPN. Philadelphia 76ers superstar Joel Embiid will be suspended for 3 games without pay for shoving Philadelphia Inquirer columnist Marcus Hayes after Saturday's loss to the Memphis Grizzlies, the NBA announced Tuesday. The suspension will span the 76ers' next 3 games: Wednesday against the Los Angeles Clippers, Friday night against the Los Angeles Lakers, and Sunday against the Charlotte Hornets, sources told ESPN Shams Charania. Embiid is set to return and make his season debut next Tuesday in Philadelphia against the New York Knicks in the 76ers' opening game of NBA Cup action. The suspension
Oh,
comes in the wake of an incident Saturday night in which Embiid shoved Hayes after taking issue with his recent column that mentioned Embiid's son and late brother, both named Arthur, while questioning Embiid's professionalism and effort to stay in shape. And Embiid told Hayes during the confrontation, "The next time you bring my dead brother and my son again, you are going to see what I'm going to do to you, and I'm going to have to live with the consequences." Hayes did offer an apology for the comments, which were eventually removed from the column, but Embiid rejected it. By the way, Embiid will lose over $1 million in pay during the suspension, according to ESPN's Bobby Marks. So, BRF, I'm gonna let you go first.
mm.
What were your thoughts about the suspension? Was it justified? And who was in the wrong? Was Joel Embiid in the wrong or in the right?
I understand you have to maintain a level of professionalism when you're an athlete, but if I recall correctly, some of those words of that article was in the context of Embiid disappointing his dead brother and son. Nah, he's lucky Embiid pushed him. I would have cold cocked him. I understand you have to maintain a level of professionalism. But when you bring dead family into this, I don't care what your job is. That's a no-no. You don't do that. Regardless of how you view Joel Embiid as a player, I get the whole load management thing. I understand people don't like the fact that he's not going to play backs to backs. I understand that. You don't bring dead family or family period in. You don't bring that into a conversation. You just don't. I mean, I understand you have to suspend him. Like I said, you have to maintain level of professionalism. You have to go about things the right way. I understand, but Joel Embiid's reaction was completely justified, in my opinion, because you don't say that. You don't write stuff like that about anybody. Like disappointing dead family. Like who are you to bring something like that to light? To say something like that about another individual? You don't do that. You do not do that. And I wouldn't have accepted his apology either because that was out of line. I mean, if nothing else, you're gonna come to me like a man in private and we're gonna discuss it if nothing else. No, we don't do this and we ain't gonna do this in public. No, we're gonna do this in private because I could take it like you just doing this in public to save face. Oh no, you gonna face me like a man and we're gonna talk about this. So and be but I mean you have to suspend him because I mean it is a physical altercation with someone of the media. You have to suspend him if you're the NBA. But his reaction was justified, and I completely understand why he reacted the way he did. Because I don't care what you do not bring family into this, particularly dead family. No, you don't do that. It's tasteless, and it just speaks volumes as far as like how far some of these medium personalities are willing to go just to get a good article. Like, nah, stuff like that you just don't do. You know what I'm saying? Talk about like when is he gonna come? When is he gonna play his game? Is he healthy enough? Bring stuff like that up. When you talk about when you hit those levels, that's too far, and I'm not digging it. So he just gotta he needs to face Joel Embiid up in private and handle that. I don't blame Embiid for not accepting any public apology. I'd rather that be in private. You gonna face me? We gonna handle this 1-on-1 and let everything come as it may. So I didn't like that at all, particularly when I read about it and just took in like more like of the full context, that was tasteless, and I'm not digging it. I mean, you have to suspend him, but Embiid's reaction was completely justified, and that reporter's lucky Joel Embiid didn't punch his face off.
Undisputed world champ.
I have to say this. Where do we get to the point? When are we going to get back to the point of responsible journalism in this world? Responsible journalism. What does his brother or his son have to do with anything regarding the game of basketball? What does that have to do with anything? Journalists, as journalists, even all of us sitting before us today, PSP, he preaches it all the time. We have to be responsible as journalists. You writing about his deceased brother and his son has nothing to do with his load management, has nothing to do with the impact on his team, has nothing to do with his impact on the floor. Why would you write that? The thing is this. They always say the apology should be just as loud as the action, but there's an old saying, especially with us down south. Some things you just don't do out of respect in the first place.
Facts.
There's certain things you just don't do out of respect. Even if you don't know a person, you just don't do it out of respect. Their family members, their children, they have nothing to do with what's going on their floor. Right about the game. There used to be a time where basketball or football was just that. It was just that. It was just about what you're doing. People are, look, and if you got into trouble, now if you got into trouble off the court or trouble on the field, that was a whole nother matter, because then you were becoming a distraction. But outside of that, keep things on the court as a journalist. You may have a problem with his load management. Talk about it. You may have a problem with saying that, hey, they need to get to the finals this year. They cannot beat the Celtics without him. Talk about that. But for you to bring in his deceased brother, for you to bring up his son, for you to bring up any type of family members, that's completely outside of the bounds of journalism. Journalists have got to learn this. Like we say down south, everybody don't play like that. Some folks do not play the radio when it comes to their family and their immediate family members, especially their children. They have nothing to do with this. I'm in the entertainment business. If I'm Joel Embiid, I understand you're going to attack me. But to say anything about my brother who's deceased, passed away my first year, I think it was his first year in the league. Very first year in the league, right?
I'll go look it up.
Passed away his very, very first year in the league. Didn't get a chance to see him become what he is now. And now you're opening up his wound. And to all the people saying, stop being so sensitive. Hey, man, you have to think about what the respect.
This is first year in the league, champ. October 16th, 2014.
Yes. So my thing is this. Treat people with the darn respect you would darn well want your gosh darn self, or prepared to get them hands put on you. That's just how it is. These journalists have got to stop doing all of this irresponsible journalism. It's irresponsible. What does this have to do with the game? What did his brother have to do with the game? What does his family have to do with the game? That has nothing to do with anything. And the thing is, while everybody's sitting up there talking about, Joel Embiid, look, that reporter needs to be suspended himself, and if not fired. Because guess what? You can't walk into locker rooms like you used to anymore. You can't. Because people are now afraid, what you going to bring up about myself if something was to happen to me and something that you don't like occurred? We have to show these players grace when it comes to their families and when it comes to their loved ones. Because guess what? They ain't got nothing to do with the game of basketball. Nothing. Joel Embiid, he's in the world of sports and entertainment. It's okay to attack him about the load management. I get it. You're supposed to. You're a journalist. But keep it on the court. His brother and his family don't have anything to do with that. And keep this in mind. We've seen a lot of reporters get beat up throughout our lifetime. We've seen it. We've seen what happened in the Kansas City Royals locker room where the manager of the team threw a phone at the reporters. We've seen a lot of guys melt down when it comes to these reporters. So the thing is, you can protect yourself at all time by choosing your words carefully when you address these grown men, because these are grown men with families. So treat people with the darn respect you would want your gosh darn self if you were in that situation. Because all of that yapping about people's families and people's legacy, that doesn't have diddly to do with nothing.
Harrison?
I got no comment. I got no comment.
I'll say this. The journalist, the columnist, he could have made his point without mentioning Embiid's son and late brother. You don't do that. Okay, if you want to talk about Joel Embiid's conditioning, which that has been a problem throughout his career, if you want to talk about Joel Embiid regarding anything else, that is legitimate. But to bring up his late brother and his child, now you just crossed the line. And look, with the reporter, I hope he learned a valuable lesson. NBA, they're going to suspend him because from an optics standpoint, they're going to have to do something about it, because anything involving physicality regarding a media member, they're going to do something about it. But as a journalist or columnist, but as a human being, certain things you don't talk about, and that's someone's family, their late their late sibling, and their child. You don't talk about that. And I think this columnist crossed the line in that regard. If you want to talk about Joel Embiid not being out on the court, that's fair. If you want to talk about Joel Embiid and his conditioning, if you want to talk about Joel Embiid within the context of basketball, that is fair. But to bring up his late brother and his son, no. And I think the reporter crossed the line. Hopefully he learned a lesson. It's a really bad look, and it's just really unfortunate, to be honest with you. But it seems to me that with journalists or columnists, you know what? I don't want to go any further, but I got my guy Grant in the building. What's up, Grant? How you doing, brother?
What's good, y'all? 1 second, 1 second.
All right, we're just gonna get Grant in the building. But again, guys, like I said before, man, it's just really unfortunate what happened with the reporter and Joel Embiid. Like I said before, the reporter, if he wanted to criticize Joel Embiid regarding the context of basketball, that is fine. But don't bring up the man's family. Don't bring up his late brother or sibling or anybody else. Just keep it within the context of basketball. Had he criticized Joel Embiid just within the context of basketball, that is fair and legitimate. But to bring up his late brother and his child, you're crossing the line. You're just crossing the line. And as a journalist and a columnist, you're making yourself look horrible. That's all I'm gonna say regarding that situation. But before we get Grant on, is there anybody who want to add further?
I'll add one thing. For every journalist and every content creator, please be responsible with your words and what you write and your videos that you make. Every content creator and journalist within the sound of my voice. Because what you do not only affects you, it affects others around you. Because if you write something irresponsible to do something irresponsible, you're making it hard for the guys who are up and coming, not only with you, but after you. Because the thing is, how is somebody else supposed to feel comfortable writing something, even if it relates to basketball, if you're going to ruin it for them by not choosing your words carefully?
Preach.
How they're going to be, and how they're going to be comfortable going into a locker room asking these ball players questions because you write something irresponsible. And then you wonder why There's a lot of distrust with sports media right about now and with the media in general, because media in general has been pretty much irresponsible with their words. So for every content creator and media member within the sound of my voice, be responsible with your words. Your words have more power than any weapon ever would have. Your words influence people. And with words come power. The pen is way mightier than that sword. So be very careful with what you write, because hey, the pen itself can destroy more lives than a sword ever can. And that's all I have to say.
Grant, just to give you some context, we're just talking about Joel Embiid's 3-game suspension. He was suspended for shoving a reporter, columnist, for writing a column regarding Embiid's late brother and his son. What were your thoughts about the suspension?
To be first off, before I even get into it, shout out to the boys, PSP, BRF, Undisputed. You know, it's good to see you guys. It's been a minute. You know, I've been busy, but it's good to hear what y'all and talk. Considering and Harrison as well. My bad, I almost forgot Harrison. That would have been rude of me. But speaking of the article, if I was Joel Embiid, I'm lucky. He's lucky he didn't put hands on him. Because I come from a family where my grandfather had 7 kids and they have 14 grandchildren. And if anyone in that family, in my family, gets disrespected, best believe we're going to find out who did it, and they're not going to do it again. And the thing that came about was, because people don't understand the whole context of what happened, it came out that Embiid punched somebody. And everyone was like, Embiid punched somebody. And, you know, everyone on Twitter was getting their memes out, trying to go viral at the moment. Then it came out, oh, he shoved him. And then the context slowly comes in, and you begin to see that, oh, wait, the dude that made this is a jerk. And look, I think Joel Embiid, you know, I don't blame him for the way he acted. Like, I understand your frustrations. If someone said that about my family or any late family member that I had, I'd probably be in that same mindset. And that's my biggest thing with sports media. I think these athletes are put, regardless of any sport, are put in such a high criticism that that when they do something like this, the media can say whatever they want and they're not going to get punished. As the late, great world heavyweight champion Mike Tyson said, social media has made y'all too comfortable with being disrespectful and not getting punched in the face for it. Because I think people in the media think they can say whatever they want about these players and that they're not going to get into a situation where you got to see them face to face. And hey, you messed around and you find out. That's what happened. So granted, I think it's soft, because if they looked at the whole context of the situation, there's no need to suspend Embiid. He was just frustrated because of what somebody said. I mean, put yourself in his shoes. A lot of people probably would have reacted the same way if you saw the guy who made an article making fun of your dead brother. Like, no. And I just think the NBA was soft for it. But, I mean, it hurts the 76ers even more just because of where they're playing. But at that point, I don't even think basketball matters, because it's just disrespectful.
Can I say something about that?
Go ahead, Harrison.
I'm just gonna say what my dad used to say when I was a kid. It's like Champ said. My dad used to say this when I was a kid. Think before you speak. That's all I'm gonna say. Think before you speak, because you can't say something about somebody else's dead relatives. That's all I'm gonna say. Think before you speak. That's the quote of the day.
Hey, Champ brings up the great quote from the great Ice-T: freedom of speech, but be careful what you say. So he always brings up that great point. So look, it's really unfortunate. I mean, it's just really sad. It should have never happened. And it's just really unfortunate because, again, I know I'm digressing, but the situation with Jason Kelsey, you know, there was the video in which a fan, you know, said a derogatory term, which I cannot say on the air, but anyone who saw the video know exactly what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
And it's just getting out of control. Not just not just with journalists and columnists, but just with people in general. It's like they have no common sense. Like I get yeah, they're celebrities, but at the same time, they're still human beings like the rest of us.
Well, granted, that person was just doing it for attention and clout, and Jason responded. Like, I get it if you don't like Taylor Swift, if you don't like Travis Kelce, that's fine. You don't walk up to Jason Kelce, who can a lot of people call the greatest center of all time, call his brother a slur and think you're not going to get hit. He's lucky he didn't hit him, because I'm telling you right now, he would have had every right to hit him. But he
Not
was
only that,
sticking
he
up for his
pushed him
brother.
too.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
pushed him too.
Yeah, he pushed him too. That's just like, you don't say that. That's just a dumb kid trying to get attention and clout in the worst way possible
I
by
know,
going
but
after family. That's not acceptable.
but Grant, that's unfortunately the problem is with the society. We don't think.
No, we don't.
Really don't think at all. And look, I mean, at the end of the day, people got to think before they say, before they do something. Otherwise, things are going to get out of control and it's going to get ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Like Champ always says, it gets uglier than a masterpiece sneaker. So
I mean, when people, I'll drop this in real quick. When people start exercising the idea of freedom of speech does not exempt them from freedom of consequence, then we'll get somewhere.